Hi, we are continuing the Shir Masechet Shabbos, a new Shir, a continuing Perek, Perek 24, 24th Perek of Masechet Shabbos. Today we're going to discuss very important concepts such as Mevatel Kli Meichonoi, Muktzeh, moving Muktzeh on Shabbos, Hefsed Merube, what can you do when there is a great loss, how to deal with an animal again on Shabbos, v'chulei, v'chulei. So basically, as always, this year is Le'ilu Nishmas, my dear father Menachem Ben Akiva, and we are on the go. Very, very sad news. We are learning for the Ilu Nishama of the soldiers, including a soldier from our own neighborhood, Lo Aleinu. Yeah, unfortunately, we gotta continue to learn, to strive, to grow, and continue the legacy of these beautiful neshamas that are now in a better place. Hegil Chotzer Chitzoino, Kuf Nun Daled Amud Beis, third line from the top of the page. Higia l'chotzer chitzoyna. What's the story here? What's the deal? I'm sorry, dust over here. We said in the Mishnah that if a person is on his way on his road Friday afternoon, and it's getting late and it's getting dark, it's not yet Shabbos, but soon to be Shabbos. One solution is to take his pouch, his wallet, parcels of valuables, put it all on a donkey. Don't carry it yourself, because if you carry it yourself, that's an Issa D'Oraisa. Rather, you either give it to a goy. If there's no goy in the area, give it to goy before Shabbos. If there's no goy to be found for love or money, that what you have to do is give the parcel and place it, or the wallet, place it on top of a chamor, your donkey, even your own donkey, and you have to do it in such a way that the donkey will not be carrying in a way that's also the oraisa. We discussed that too, and then the Mishnah said that once you finish traveling through the highway, Rishus Harabim, Hegia l'chotzer chitzoino, you have arrived at the outer chotzer, the outer courtyard of town, meaning you have arrived at the first Rishus Hayochid that that's out there that you've encountered. You have to stop in the first Rishus HaYochid, and then you unburden, you unload the then you unload the animal. Yeah, how do you do that? Yeah, you undo the knots that tie the bundles to the back of the animal. You undo them, you unknot them, and they all fall to the ground. Okay, what's a chiddush? And by the way, when we said that falls to the ground, these are muktzah items. Muktzah items you can't take from the animal. You just undo it and plop, you let it fall on the ground. You hope it's not going to break. We're going to discuss that. But if the items are not muktzah, items that are regular, permitted items to be used on Shabbos, you take them from the donkey's back. However, what's a chiddush? Why shouldn't I be able to take it? Tiferes Yisrael says that these items came from outside the tchum, because that person probably did break tchumin. It came from too far away from outside town, and because it came from outside the tchum, you can't carry them. Sorry, you can't carry them inside further. That's why you have to do it in the first stop possible in town, and you can't necessarily benefit from them either. They came from outside the tchum. It's at least a question. But what you could do, because of tsar balechaim, you want to avoid pain from the animal. The animal shouldn't be burdened by that, by those packages on its back, by the cargo. Therefore, you can unpack it in all kinds of ways. Amar Avuna. Now I promised we're going to talk about what happens if the kalim are breakable. The kalim are fragile. What's going to be then? Amar Avuna. Hoysa behemtu teuna klei zchuchis. Let's say the behema was loaded with glass vessels, cups, salad bowls, bottles, whatever you can imagine are klei zchuchis, all kinds of glass items. What do you do then? You can't just, let it, you can't just undo and plunk it down, just let it fall. It's going to break. It's made out of glass. So what do? Zogt Rav Huna, maybe korim ksosos umeniach tachtea. You, in advance, you put korim ksosos, you put the pillows and mattresses under the animal, all around the animal, and then umatir chavalim, then you undo the knots, vasakin noiflim, the sack is going to fall, and there's a very nice safety net to cushion the fall, and that is the sakim, the items full of glass kalim, they fall on the nice soft cushion, and that takes the impact. All very good. Fact the Gemara, first of all, what do you mean? We're talking here about glass items. Glass items are usually not muktzah. What's the matter? You don't have a hammer made out of glass or things like that, yeah? And therefore, the Gemara is asking the obvious question: "V'anant nan noitilas akelim in the Shabbos." If the item is not muktzah, you're allowed to take it on Shabbos with your own bare hands. It's not muktzah. What's the problem? Okay, it came from outside the tchum. So what? If the item is not muktzah, let's say this bottle was on the animal, I can remove it very nicely. So why do you have to unpack it in a strange way, let it fall on the ground without touching it? It's not muktzah. Answers the Gemara, no, it is muktzeh. How come you have a glass bowl or a glass cup that's muktzeh? Kiko Rav Huna is speaking about a case, a specific case. The karni de umna Rav Huna is talking about the karni de umna, the lo chazile, which means karni de umna are the glass vessels, the glass cups of the person who does the kozas hadam. The person who's a bloodletter, his kelim are disgusting. They are used, and there are some stains of blood on them. Yuck. And therefore, it's not suitable for any use, and it's mukta. Let me just sharpen the point that although la halacha, there is a concept called mukta machmas mius. We saw it in daf, I don't memheish, around there, around the sugyas at the end of third parak. We have the concept of mukta because it's disgusting, it's muktzeh. We don't believe in that concept. Let's say you have a kad cheres, for example, Machlokas Reb Shimon Reb Yehuda, Daf Gimel Mem Hey, around there. There's Machlokas about a lantern that kind of absorbed the old oil. It's disgusting. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's muktzeh. According to Rabbi Shimon, it's not muktzeh. We follow Rabbi Shimon. So we're not concerned about something disgusting being muktzeh. So how come over here we say that because it's disgusting, that's why you can't touch it, and that's why those glass blood-letting items, utensils, you can't touch them because they're disgusting in the muktzeh, and you have to let them fall on the soft cushions. Why? You know why? Before she explain, I saw it in the Noisei Kelim Shulchan Aruch. Because you know why? Because usually something that's a receptacle and is not nice to use because it had something disgusting inside before, you can still use it as a cover. You can cover something with that. It's not as disgusting. Maybe not food. You can cover other stuff. The glass things are not a good cover because they're very fragile. They may fall. And therefore, since it's not good neither to hold something inside, not to cover anything, they're complete muktzah, and everyone agrees you can't touch it, you can't move it. So what do? You untie, they fall, boom, on the nice soft cushions. Now we're entering big sugyas of frekt the Gemara. The Gemara is asking a question. One of the Isurim on Shabbos, with the Rabbanon, as the Gemara says later, it's the Rabbanon, is a person is not allowed to mevatel kli, to basically nullify a kli meichonoi, which means if you have a kli on Shabbos and you made that kli on Shabbos halachically immobile, listen to my words, halachically immobile, meaning you placed some muktzah on the item, and let's say now that became a basis ladover osur, or maybe the muktzah item is very heavy and just holds that item inside, that it holds what's underneath captivity. Let's say you have, for example, a pillow, nice little pillow, and now this big piece of, I don't know, nice big vase made out of but a disgusting muktzah one on top of it, you can't remove the muktzah from the pillow. The pillow is now immobilized. The pillow is halachically paralyzed because you cannot remove it. Says Rashi, it's considered to be now soser. It's considered like demolishing. You took a pillow that should have been able to be moved around, and now you've created a situation in which that pillow cannot be moved around because it's held halachically and physically by a muktzah item that's on top. You're not allowed to do that. By the way, Rashi Daf Mem Gimel gave a different reason for Mevatel Kli Mechonoi. There's a very nice shtickle over here, but it's beyond the scope of our shir. The question is a question: how can you allow that nice pillow, which was nice and free, and now you're taking this pillow and grounding it basically by boom, throwing that muktzah item on top? The muktzah item will not go anywhere. You can't remove the muktzah. So how come? Right? And therefore, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Answers the Gemara, B'shlifi Zutri. We're talking about a small muktzah item. It's a small piece of metal, not metal, the whatever muktzah that is. That blood letter vessel is a small one. So what if it's small? It's still muktzah. No, says Rashi Chiddush, and that is I am allowed to take the pillow underneath the small muktzah item that's delicate, gently remove the pillow and allow the item to roll down onto the next pillow and then to another pillow until it falls gently, gently into the ground at the end of the room. But Lamaisa, that pillow is not a hostage, excuse the word, not so nice to say this word nowadays. It's not really held, hostage with a muktzah because I'm allowed to move the actual karis, the actual pillow, and move it gently and let it roll down. Question. I'm asking you a question. The second I read it, asked the question already previous times. That's basis. If the item on top is muktzah, then what's underneath is also muktzah. How come that's okay to remove it? That question is asked by the Rishonim. Today I saw Magen Avram. The Magen Avram answers it's not a basis of davar osur. Why? First of all, we always judge everything by Ben Hashmoshes. Ben Hashmoshes, he wasn't there. Ben Hashmoshes, the pillow was free. If only now, since only in the middle of Shabbos, you put the item there, that's not a problem, yeah, because Lamaisa, it's not, if you can move the pillow, if you can move the pillow without moving the item, and you're moving the pillow, it's tiltul minatzad litzorach dovamuto, because I need the pillow to sleep on, and therefore, since it's only temporary mevatel kli mechona, it's not called mevatel kli mechona. It's a big chiddush of the Magen Avram. The other answer of other Achronim, and also Magen Avram himself mentions it's in Siman Shin Ches. That's another thing. He says if your kavana lechatchila was to place it there temporarily, it's not mevatel kli mechona. And here, obviously, lechatchila nu, it's going to be there for 5, 10, 15 minutes. That's not called basil. It's not called basis, I meant. It's not called basis dover osir. If the basis is temporary, it's not called basis dover osir. Therefore, the pillow itself, if I can physically manage to somehow, siphon it, like kind of pull it gently, and the item rolls down gently and nicely, the glass item, and nothing's going to break. If I manage that maneuver, that's fine. It's not called basis. And subsequently, if it's not basis, it's not mevatel kli mechana. I did not make it into basis. Mevatel kli mechana is only if I physically can't pick it up. What's on top? I can't. Here I can. It's small. I'm moving the muktzah indirectly. I'm moving the muktzah, which is a glass item, by an indirect action. Moving muktzah indirectly is allowed, providing I do it for the sake of the mutter item, which I do, which is pillow. All I need is a pillow, and that's fine. Sorry about that. Mesivi. Now the Gemara is asking a question from a brisa. Once a person comes again, that sad situation, the animal is loaded with tevel, vashoshios, he has tevel, that food that Meiser wasn't taken from, which means muktzah for everyone. You have a pile of food, yeah, whatever that is, bunch of wheat, barley, even things that are edible, but not halachically edible because Meiser wasn't taken. Even Kohanim cannot eat it. And ashashios. Ashashios are big pieces of glass, like big glass panes. Yeah, big pieces of glass, glass boards, panes, and those big pieces of zchuchis. Matras chavolim. And again, same situation. Friday afternoon, you've arrived at the chotzer, that barn over there. And what do? You undo the chevel. You can't touch those because they're muktzah. The tevel and the shoshios, the glass pieces of glass, are muktzah. What do? Undo matras chavolim vasaki noiflin. The sacks that are full of those glass panes, they fall. The afal pisha mishtabrin. Opa, interesting. Over there, we're not being so nice and so considerative and say, put a cushion underneath to cushion the fall. Say, no, let it fall on the ground. Let it fall down and let those glass pieces break. Oh, why? What's the difference? Before we said when it comes to kalim, be nice and delicate, no problem, no bosses, no all is good, mister. And here we say, no, 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 don't bring any pillows, let it fall on the ground. If it's going to break, it's going to break. Mesilas nefesh. What's the difference? Answers the Gemara, Hasam bekulsa. As I already hinted to you before, over there we're not talking about accomplished, finished glass, pieces of glass like, tableware. We're talking about kulsa, which are basically panes of glass, pieces of glass. Those pieces of glass are anyhow meant to be broken anyways. It's not a nicely designed pane for the size of the window that you're building in your new home in the five towns. No. Kulsa means it's like a rough kind of piece of glass that will surely anyhow be broken to many smaller pieces, right? And therefore, the loss is not so great. So, what do you mean? I thought there's no problem. What I'm telling you now is a summary of Rishonim Achronim. Yeah, you came in the right moment. Basically, the story is as follows. Kulsa, there is no great loss over there. It's anyhow going to break anyways. And therefore, there we are concerned about temporary since until we manage that maneuvering business of moving back and forth the pillows for 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, the pillow will be grounded, will be immobilized. That is a temper mevatel kli mechonoi, and that's not allowed. Oh, how come we allowed it before? Before we allowed the temper mevatel kli mechonoi because the loss was great. I have that beautiful vase worth $2,000, and it's nice and glassy and classy, and now it's going to break. That's a heck of a loss. Or even regular glass kalim. There we allowed mevatel kli mechanoi zmani temporary. Now that we have a kulsa, the loss is not that great at all. Therefore, you're not allowed to do even a minimum mevatel kli mechanoi because there's no loss to justify it. Daikanami, we're about to enter the Sof HaShurot HaTzarot. Sof HaShurot HaTzarot. Daikanami, Kekuf Nun Daled Amud Beis. Daikanami, and we see this is inferred from the words of the Bryce, the Ktani Dumi the Tevel. Oh, you see that we're not talking about something accomplished and nice. We're talking here about something completely muktzeh, just like Tevel. Tevel and a Shoshios are mentioned together. So you see, a Shoshios are similar to Tevel. In what way? Ma Tevel de lo chazilei, afochanami lo chazilei. Just like Tevel, as I told you, is completely out of it. Nobody can eat Tevel whatsoever. I'm sorry. Yeah, nobody can eat Tevel, Kohen Israel. It's treif, so to speak. You can't eat Chulin and Meister together. Afochanami lo chazilei. Here we're talking about pieces of glass that are not suitable for anybody's use. Very good. Wait a second. Yeah, first wide line. If you're telling me that there's no loss at all, who cares? Anyhow, that big piece of glass, the glass pane, the glass board, is anyhow going to break. So what are you telling me? Even though they're going to break, you should still do it. Who cares it's going to break? Why not? Zog the Gemara, no. Don't tell me there's no loss whatsoever. Why? Because when it's shattering on the ground, it's shattered to the ground, then of course you have small pieces here and there. You have, the tiny broken pieces. Of course, that's a loss. If you do it professionally, you cut it nicely, yeah, and you don't lose not a tiny piece, not even one tiny millimeter. Here, you're going to lose a little bit of the glass by shuttering. So even though there's a little bit of loss, we're not concerned about that. Kamash Malan. Let's summarize. Let's summarize. Let's summarize. Now, very good. Again, you have, yeah, an issue here of temporary Vivatel Kli Mechonoi. You came back from that very tiring ordeal, from that headache of what? Your donkey and you and the guy and the Cheshot Vekota and whatever. What's the story? It was on the donkey. Everybody else went away. Now you came to the Chotzer Shusayochin. Those kelim are made out of glass. You can't just break them. Oh, it depends. If the kelim are made out of, if the kelim are real kelim zchuchis, and breaking them would be a loss, then we're makel to put the kovim, the ksosois, the pillows underneath, even though it will create a temporary mevatel kli mechonoi, because as long as they're there, the kli, the pillow underneath cannot be moved. Yeah, you can't just move them straight away. You have to roll them, you have to play around with them. And a temporary mevatel kli mechonoi, we do allow for the great loss of the glasses and the bottles. Mashenk in the second case, if you have rough pieces of glass and the loss is not so great, you don't care that they break. Anyhow, they're going to be broken one way or the other. Maybe not your design, there's a little bit of a loss, but not a great loss. You're not losing here your nice, beautiful vase you bought in, I don't know, Macy's. No, LMI, what? And therefore, in such a case, when there's no great loss, they do not allow you, Chachamim, to be mevatel kli mechonoi, not even for 1 minute. And what do? You let it fall on the harsh ground, boom, and it breaks. It's a siman tov, it's a sgula. What do you say when the glass breaks in a Jewish home? Let's hope there's a simcha. Right? Mazal tov. Not so gadol as much as if it's gadol, right? If it's gadol and a nice kli, that's also a problem because you can't roll it and a chinami. So then you're asking a good question. Then what would be the case? True, 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 true. Let's say I have a big. I saw Shulchan Aruch and then I didn't look into it too much. Or here, very good. Akiva is asking a very good question. If I have a big piece, a large, nice vase, it's a big loss, but that item is impossible to move from the chorus. So the karit, the pillow, will be stuck there the whole Shabbos. Vatil kli mechonoi. L'chor vatil kli mechonoi. You don't. No, I don't think vatil kli mechonoi. You can be makel to avoid loss. Only vatil kli mechonoi temporary. Not vatil kli mechonoi for the whole Shabbos. We're going to see later. No, I think you should let it break on the floor. Why? Because if it's going to stay there the whole Shabbos, then even if you have a great loss, we don't allow you to move it. Well, that's going to be a next case, actually, another case. Okay, l'choiro. Again, I should look up Shulchan Aruch, but as far as I know, that seems to be the story. Tanya. Oh, here comes another brisa on the same subject. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, what does he say? Oysa be'em toteun a shlif shel tvua. One's animal was loaded with a shlif, basically like a whole, similar to a sheaf of tvua, like a aluma, basically a bundle of wheat or barley, any kind of cereal, and you want to remove it. Yeah, and that shlif shel tvua is what? Is tevel. Let me see Rashi. Rashi says masu shel tvua shel tevel. You can see Rashi. Tevel muktzeh. What do? How can you remove it? So we said you can untie. There's another solution. Meniach rosh tachteh u'mesalko letzad acher. You're allowed to place your head like that. Place your head under that bundle u'mesalko letzad acher, and move it to the other side with your head. Give it like a head hit. V'unoifel me'elav, gore. You should give it a gore. V'unoifel me'elav, and it's going to fall by itself. What's the chiddush over here? What's the story? What's this acrobatics? The idea is as follows. How is that called, by the way? Anybody wants to tell me? When you move something with your head, muktzeh, negicha, rasa. What? No, tiltul begufay. Matzad, no, matzad is something else. That's called tiltul begufay. Matzad is when you do it with your hands, but you don't touch the muktzeh. It's like you move the pillow. That's called Tiltul Begufo. What's a Chiddush? It's a big Chiddush. Why? Because first of all, not everybody believes in Tiltul Begufoi. And even those who do, Tiltul Begufoi is only okay, according to the Chazon Ish, for example, yeah, I mean, following earlier opinions, if you do it B'derech Hiluchoi. Yeah, in Daf Kuf Kav Zayin, we had a case, you have all kinds of muktzah items like wheat and barley that are muktzah for other reasons. As you walk along the path, you have a barn, a sam, full of those wheat and barley stuff. You're allowed to walk through, and naturally, as you walk along, to kick them. But to do something special, yeah, and give it that gore with a head, yeah, that is not something you do automatically. It's not as I'm walking. We had another case in Daf Kuf Mem, if I'm not remember, Kuf Mem Aleph. What did we say there? Kuf Mem Aleph, I think. You're lying on the bed and you have kash, you have hay, straw. Kash, hay, straw on the bed, and you don't like the way it's shaped up, you're allowed to move it with your back. That's natural. When you lie down on the bed, you anyhow move around, right? So that's normal. Here, there's a bigger chiddush. You're allowed to do a special motion, which you don't naturally do, which normal person stands next to his animal and starting, is in the football, in the soccer team, is giving a rasa. Obviously not. So why is that allowed? Because of Tzar Ba'alei. We're going to see another factor, Tzar Ba'alei Chaim. Because Tzar Ba'alei Chaim is Osir, either Dorais or Dorabonon, Machloikis in both Metzia Daf Lamed Beis, but we have an ish of Tzar Ba'alei Chaim. Therefore, to do Tiltul Begufoi, even in a special motion just for that, out of the ordinary, for Tzar Ba'alei Chaim, that's allowed. That's the Rishonim say over here. I have a Terora, which I wrote years ago. Next story. Now I'm going to read a tragic story. Get your tissues ready. Chamoiro shel Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel had a donkey. Same story. Oisa uno dvash. His donkey was full of honey, meaning, well, full of honey. It was loaded with a lot of, jugs and all kinds of utensils full of honey. He found no solution. From all the solutions we offer, he did not find a solution, the Heilige Rabban Gamliel, and he did not want to unload it until Motzei Shabbos. The Motzei Shabbos Mesa, the animal died. The burden of the honey was so heavy, so loaded, that the animal died on Motzei Shabbos. Levaya was Motzei Shabbos. Then, frag the Gemara, why? Why did he behave that way, the Choiro? Vanantnan, we learned to the Mishnah, Notil Kelim and Itolin. First of all, it's not Muktzah. Notil Kelim and Itolin. Items that are not Muktzah, regular food, Dvash is very nice. Dvash is not Muktzah. It's not even Tevel, unless, some people meister Dvash, right? Most of us don't. So the meister, Dvash is edible and nice. Why can't you just take it from the animal and finish the story? You may ask, what's the chiddush, right, Akiva? Why does the Mishnah tell me I can take stuff that's not muktzah? So the Tiferes Sod in the Mishnah says, I'm just recapping for you, that really the chiddush is it came from outside the tchum. Remember, right? Sometimes, yeah, you have the item that came, the donkey came with the person from far away. Things that started their journey from outside the tchum on Shabbos, you can only keep them there, not supposed to do anything with them, touch them. You can't eat the honey. Can't eat the honey. All you can do is just, unload it in order to avoid Tzar Ba'alei Chaim. That's exactly the reason. Now the question is, I don't know if Rabban Gamliel's animal came from outside the Tchum, actually. You don't even have to command for that. Maybe Stam, maybe his servant forgot to unload the honey before Shabbos. That doesn't make a difference. But Lamaisa, all the more so, why couldn't he just remove the honey? Wherever it came from, right? Why did you let the animal die? This is Rabban Gamliel. Answers the Gemara, Kshehid Bish. We're talking here about the honey that went bad. The honey hidbish, meaning it soured. Something happened to the honey and it went bad. Okay, and therefore it's muktzah. Nobody can use it, so we assume now it's muktzah. And you can't take it with your hands. Frag the Gemara, if so, hidbish l'may chazi. If the honey is just so bad, is rotten or whatever, old, stale, Lamai Chazi, what is it good for? What is it good for? Because Lamaisa, what's the honey? Why is he? It's a kasha of a Maisa. Why is his animal carrying honey that's bad? Rabban Gamliel was a very chosh of a person. Why is he carrying bad rotten, smelly honey. What for? How could you tell me that was the case? Answers the Gemara, L'ktita de gamli. Oh, as we learned already earlier in the Masechta, honey, even if it's not edible by human beings, it's good to heal the ktita, to heal the wounds or the chapped skin, yeah, or whatever the skin that's removed, yeah, the rash, things like that, skin problems of the camels. Apparently, if the camel has a skin issue, so the bad honey is good for that. Okay, so the honey was valuable, but it was still muktzeh. Why is it muktzeh? Because it's a medication for the animal. You're not allowed to use it on Shabbos. You can't stam heal your animal on Shabbos unless it's an emergency. I don't know. Yeah, there's no pikuach nefesh by animals, right? So basically, it's usable. It's valuable. It makes sense that he held it. Actually, it's quite expensive. It was a good medication for camels. How do you know it was expensive? Because the Gemara will treat it later as hefsed merubeh. And yet, the Ktita the Gamli, you're not supposed to take it with your own hands. It's muktzeh, so he left it on the animal, he left it on the donkey, because it's worth a lot of money, but it's not something to be touched on Shabbos, and therefore it stayed on the animal until Baruch Danu Emes. Frag the Gemara, so what? There are other solutions. Veyatir chavolim, viplusakin. Wait a second. What's your problem? Why? We said in the Mishnah, what do you do with muktzah items? You just untie the chevel, the ropes, the tie, and the sakim fall. The sacks, yeah, that contain the honey are gonna fall. What's the problem? Zog the Gemara mitzteru ziki. Although it's not really made out of glass, those honey jars, but they will, the chavios, Ziki Rashi says Rashi defines Ziki as like a jug, yeah? Those jugs are going to, yeah, a nodos, node is a jug, yeah. The jugs are going to crack. They're going to crack open, the honey will go bad. We don't want it to hit the ground. It's going to crack. Fragt the Gemara, well, what's the problem? We have a solution for that. We mentioned it before. Take some pillows and mattresses and soft stuff and put underneath. It's going to fall on the pillow and all good. What's the problem? So the Gemara mitanfi. Uh-oh. Those honey jugs are not completely hermetically closed. They're going to metanef. They're going to make the pillows dirty. They're coming about to clean the entire Shabbos. Meaning, nobody wants to use on Shabbos. Let's say Shabbos afternoon. I need my Shabbos shlof with my nice pillow. Are you going to use a pillow that's dirty with honey? No, no honey. I won't. Right? Neither you nor your honey are not going to use a pillow with honey. It's dirty, especially not the bad honey. And therefore, since the entire Shabbos you can't use it anymore, you're making it again unusable for Shabbos. That's not the mevatel kli mechona which was allowed before for hefsed merubeh. Only temporary mevatel kli mechonoi until you managed to move it was allowed for hefsed merubeh, for real hefsed. Mashenkin here, the hefsed is for the entire Shabbos. Even though I'm going to lose that honey, which is expensive, which is valuable, lemaisa, the mevatel kli is for the entire Shabbos. It's actually very easy to remember the formula. Yeah, meaning, yeah, you're only allowed to basically create a small mevatel kli mechonoi, temporary zmani mevatel kli mechonoi, if the loss is big, right? But if the loss is small, then you can't do anything. That's it. And here, you're going to have an entire Shabbos with those dirty, disgusting pillows with honey stains. Do you think that's going to help your shalom bayis? I don't think. Not my. I know, right? Yeah. What's this honey doing on the pillows that we're supposed to sleep on? No way. And therefore, it's mevatel kli mechonoi, and therefore that's not allowed, even not in the price of hefsed. Ergo, my dear neighbor, I think, I don't know. I think in light of that, that even if you have big kalim, right? You have big kalim that would somehow be occupying the entire klei zchuchis that are big. They're going to take the entire space of the pillow. You won't be able to move them around. L'choiro, you can't put them on the pillows if they'll be there entire Shabbos. No, l'choiro. But I should really go into it. Fact the Gemara. Wait a second. Question again on who? On Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel really allowed an animal to die. Veikatzar ba'alechaim. Wait a second. It's true that there's no solution here whatsoever. Why? Because you can't put the pillow underneath. Why not? Mevatel kli mechonoi. Wait a second. Mevatel kli mechon on one hand. On the other hand, the animal is suffering. And there is a mitzvah deoraisa, lav deoraisa, of avoiding tsar ba'alechaim. Azov ta'azovimoi. Right? You're supposed to unburden, take away the burden from your enemy's animal. Oh, so how come it was over Isa Doraisa Tzar Balechaim in price of the Rabbono and Bevat Kli Mechonoi? Answers the Gemara, Kasavar. He particularly Rabban Gamliel held halacha ledaitoi, his opinion. Tzar Balechaim de Rabbonon. I told you it's a machloikes before. Tzar Balechaim is the Rabbonon, according to him. Because he believed Tzar B'chaim Durabanon, Mimela, why should one Durabanon? Yet, Bimevatel the other. I'm not going to do Maise Biyadayim of dropping those bad honey, which will stain everything, right? I'm not going to let it fall onto the pillows, Mevatel Kli Mechonoi for the entire Shabbos, because you want me to be over not the Durabanon, my ul mahai mehai. Why should one Durabanon push away the other? This one, at least I'm passive. I'm allowing the animal to suffer. Here, I'm doing my Sabiyadayim. It's worse. And therefore, no. Therefore, he kept it as it was, and the animal died. I don't know if you're supposed to mamish let the animal die or not. Maybe he'll taka yes. Because he believes Darbachlam Durabanon, and it does not push away the other Durabanon of Mevat Kli Mechonim. By the way, just to remind you, in Daf Kuf Kafches, we said the opposite. There we had the case of yes, mamish purim korvik. Remember, the animal fell into the pit, and you put korvik sauce under the animal. In the entire Shabbos, so the animal doesn't hurt itself inside the bowl, inside the pit. Why? Because Tzar is the oraisa, according to that opinion in Kuf Kafches, it overrides the Da'abaran. So it's a machlokes. What do you think? Was sagst du? Yes, in order to avoid the Nisa Doraisa of what? Tzar Balechaim. Yes, then you're supposed to be in over Isa Rabbonon of Mevatzil Kli Mechonim. I read a story in a sefer about Tzar Balechaim that in Tifrach, stand up, I'm saying Tifrach, yeah. So in Tifrach, once a Rosh Hashiva, he was walking down the street and he saw kids. It's a chamor. There was a story there about a chamor. The kids they tied a donkey there in a way that was hurting the donkey on Shabbos. And the Shiva himself he untied that tie on Shabbos because he said that kind of kesher is only also midurabonon to untie, and Tzar Balcham is doaisa. I think Reb Chaim Kamil or one of the Rosh Hashivas of Tifrach. So he mamash beyadayim. He did that. He was over the Rabbanon on Shabbos to avoid Tzar Balcham doaisa. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, so I'm not a Paisik Halacha, do what you want. I'm saying, but these are, the general ideas over here. Abaye story time. Abaye ashkechel Rabba. Abaye one Shabbos, Abaye found Rabba, which was Abaye's Rebbe. He was Abaye's master, and Abaye found him to come Mishafshef lebrei. He was basically sliding his son, his little baby boy. Mishafshef, you would rub him agava de chamra. In other words, Rashi says all Rabbi wanted to do was lishtashea et atinok. Yeah, he wanted to basically make the baby happy, to play with the baby. Yeah, a Rabbi wanted to play with this baby. What did he do? He was sliding the baby up and down by the side of the donkey's back, up and down. Yeah, up and down. The boy, the little baby, was very happy by being, held and sliding back and forth, up and down the side of the animal's body. Amarle, Abaye is now questioning what Rabba did. He's approaching Rabba with a question. Kamishtamesh mar be'balei Hakamar, Rebbe, how can you use balei Famous Mishnah, Beitza Lamedvav Amud Beis. you're not allowed to use what on Shabbos? You're not allowed to climb up a tree, and you can't ride an animal on Shabbos. And it says you're not allowed to be mishtamish, you can't use an animal on Shabbos, meaning the same gzera that yeah, the Gemara said, the Mishnah says over there, you can't ride an animal and you can't make any other use physically of the animal. Your child is not riding the animal, but you, maybe the kid's a baby, but you are, yes, using actively the body of the animal, and that shouldn't be allowed. Just like riding is not allowed, so to other usages of the animal's body are not allowed on Shabbos. How come you do that? Omar Lay, Rabbi is telling him a very, very big yisoid. Tzadin hen. I'm not using the top of the animal the normal way. I'm using the side of the animal. So, v'tzdadin legozu rabbanon. Tzadin rabbanon did not allow you to use. Excuse me. Tzadin, the sides of the animal, rabbanon never made the gzera, never made a decree not to use. Right? That's the story. Why? Says Rashi, "Ein ze derech tashmishay v'rabbanon legozru bo," because that's not the normal way to use an animal sliding on the side, and since it's not normal, that's not what Chazal had in mind. Frag the Gemara, nice, minot emra. How do you know? How do you know Rabbi is right and you're allowed to use the side of the animal? You know how? From our very own Mishnah, Ditnan, Matil Sechavolim, Vasaki Neuflin. It says you undo the Chavolim and the sack just falls. How do you undo the chavolim exactly? My love, bechever gavalki, davalu tzadin, v'tzadin goes b'rabonon. Chever gavalki in the Havamina, the way the rabbi wants to learn the Mishnah is basically you have both sakim all tied together. You have two sacks on both sides of the animal, and they're tied one to the other. And the only way you can untie them is if whatever the reality is if you manage to stick with your body to the animal. It's like very tight kind of story over there. You have to like be very close to the animal and like support yourself on the animal, or as you want to untie. Yeah, when you untie something from a surface, especially an animal that moves around, you have to like push the animal in order to untie properly. And he did that. So you see that's allowed. Why? Because it's Dadim. He didn't ride on the animal. He just, kind of supported himself and pushed and pressed by the side of the animal without actual riding, just touching the side or pushing to the side in order to do the job. That's fine. So I'm doing the same thing for the baby. Frag the Gemara, not necessarily. No, it's not proven. Could be that our Mishnah is a different story. Bechever aglavki, the lo havutz dodin, inami belechta, which means either glavki or lechta are similar ideas. I'll tell how it goes. Maybe I'm trying to do a bit of a show and tell. Yeah, let's say that's one sack and that's another sack. Yeah, from both sides of the chamor. They're not touching each other. Each one has like a strap, and that strap, both straps together, there are different ways, either with a tabas or without. They have like a hook, yeah, or some kind of some kind of latch. Once you unlatch that, they fall without you touching the animal. It's more advanced, yeah. 2025. All you need to do is undo that. You don't have to press. You undo that, click it open, or open that ring, and automatically, boom, both straps that are connected to it, once it's undone, without me pressing, I elegantly, without putting any pressure on the animal, I just unclick it, they both fall. And therefore, maybe that's the story of our Mishnah. But if you want to push to the side, or push or press, maybe that's not allowed. We're not saying Rabbi is wrong, but Rabbi did not yet prove his point that Tzdadim are okay. We're going to work on it when? Tomorrow. And tomorrow, Mirz Hashem, there will be Shir. Mirz Hashem. Thursday, maybe not. I don't know. But tomorrow, will I see you here tomorrow? Okay. We'll still be here. Torah anytime. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to run. It's Myrid. Thank you for being here with us. All of us are Baruch Hashem, Steigening, and Siyum is coming soon. Yeah.